Hey guys, Kingpin here. Welcome to the next episode of Franchise Mode. Today we're back at the center of primate conservation. In case this is your first time watching this series, we started off by making this giant exhibit called the Rainforest, and based on our heat maps, it looked like the animals are really enjoying it. There's not a single one that's even a little bit unhappy. This zoo is called the Center of Primate Conservation, mainly because we deal with a lot of endangered primates. We have 3 species of lemurs native to Madagascar, and we have our mandrills, which are native to the west coast of Africa, all 4 of which are critically endangered. In case you missed the last episode, we made a few buildings over here by our entrance pavilion. We decorated it up, added a gift shop, an ice cream parlor, and an information stand. The guests really seem to enjoy it over here as well. Today, however, we're going to get back to a more traditional episode and make an exhibit. For what yet, I'm not exactly sure, but there's one thing I do know. I want the exhibit to be semi-aquatic, so that limits the animals we're going to use by quite a fair bit. Semi-aquatic exhibits are just my favorite to build, so let's try one. Hey, that's good news. It looks like guests think the tickets are a good deal. That means we can raise the prices a little bit. We don't want to raise it too much to the point where they'll get mad and stop buying, but we can afford to raise it a little bit more. The rainforest and especially the entrance pavilion were pretty expensive to make, and this exhibit's not going to be small either. I already have an idea in my head of what it's going to be like, but you guys will just have to wait and see. We can also start to do some marketing now that we can afford it. It looks like our zoo's marketing rating is very bad and it's dragging down our star rating overall. Our marketing is literally 0 stars right now and everything else is at least 2.5. In case you don't know what marketing is, just think about it like commercials or advertisements or billboards. Whenever you see a product being advertised, that's marketing. And the more people that see our zoo, whether it's on TV or on the cereal boxes or whatever we chose for the marketing campaign, the more people are likely going to come to the zoo. If there's one thing you guys can definitely trust me about, it's marketing. It happens to be one of the things I'm studying at school. I'm thinking our new exhibit should branch off this direction, kind of using the mandrill's little guest shade area as sort of a midpoint where they can either go to the rainforest if they continue straight, or if they head left, they can come over this way and view our new exhibit. I think I have an idea of what animal I want to go in this new exhibit, but I'm not going to spoil it quite yet, and maybe I won't in the thumbnail, who knows. But some aspects I know for a fact I want to include in this exhibit are going to be a deep diving area, which basically means 4 meters or more of water. Animals have different animations if they can deep dive like this. I want to have some shallow water pools where they can do some normal swimming. And I want to have some stadium seats so guests can actually see shows of this animal. The other thing that I want to build, but I'm not quite sure if I'll be able to pull it off, is going to be a little den that's kind of underground. That would be where the animal burrows in real life. This will be surrounded by some one-way glass, so the animals can get some quality rest time, but the guests can actually see it happening. I think that'd be a really popular attraction. Okay, we have the basic layout done, and right over here is where the deep dive pool is going to be. It's just going to be a small square that goes back about that far. It's not going to be the bulk of the exhibit. I'm thinking right there is going to be where the den is. This exhibit's not going to be on the inside of this path, not at all. That's going to be something completely different, probably in the next episode. But it's probably about time that we reveal what the animal actually is going to be. The Asian small-clawed otter. These guys are classified as vulnerable. There's only 5,000 left in the wild, and as you can see, their habitat is actually surprisingly large for only being 5,000 strong. The problem with this is that they're spread thin. One cool feature about the Zoopedia that I don't think I've ever talked about is you can actually input how many animals you want to have in the exhibit in the future, and it'll tell you the exact dimensions you need to have the exhibit and exactly what needs to be included in it. So now we know exactly what to do with this exhibit before we even build it. Let's get to work. Now, building an underwater viewing area can be kind of tricky. There's a few key steps that you have to follow, and if you mess even one of them up, it won't work, because you have to make your exhibits completely watertight, which can be tough. Luckily, the pre-built glass barrier is very good at being watertight, but if you used a pre-built wooden barrier or like a chain link fence or something like that, it's not going to be watertight, but luckily all types of glass are. The only reason you'd ever build an underwater section like this anyways is to have the guests be able to see it. So why not just use the pre-built glass barrier? There's no reason not to. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your glass barrier that you're using for the deep dive section is at least 4 meters tall. And the reason I say at least 4 meters tall is because the water itself has to be 4 meters deep in order for the animal to dive. That means your glass is probably going to have to be a little bit taller because the water's not going to go to the top. Now the way I got the terrain to bend the way I did right there and not go over the path is if you click the terrain button and go to terrain editor, you can have pre-built sections that can raise it in the shape of a cylinder, a rectangle, a square, or they can subtract the terrain in the exact same shapes, but they'll never impede the path. This makes it very good for making even areas of elevation. The next thing that we're going to do for our deep dive pool is use these to go around it and make a square behind the thing. See, you can see the shape starting to come out right there. Once you have your deep dive section all carved out, then go in with the terrain editors and rough up the sides, smooth up the sides, and add areas where the animal will be able to get out of the pool. You don't just want to have a gigantic pool that leads to nothing. That's an abyss, not a pool. Think about any pool you've been to in real life. There's not just a diving board and there's 6 feet of water everywhere. No, there's tiny areas where you can step to get out. Our otters are going to need the exact same thing. Once you've found that your exhibit's watertight, which you do by just extending the glass into the wall a little bit, you can then get rid of all of the water and finish the terrain since you know you'll be able to put it back later without any trial or error. This is what I was talking about while trying to smooth it out but give them ample space to climb out. This also includes shallow water, which they're going to need in the exhibit anyways. Not all of this is deep diveable, only the depths are. My original plan for this exhibit was to have the path be able to go completely over it and have the otters walking beneath you, but I realized that that really wouldn't work. I didn't like how it would look, plus it would limit the space that they have, so I had to change up the design a little bit, but I think it turned out better in the end for it. Now we're going to dig out their little tunnel that leads to their den. The viewing section is going to be right here in the front. All you have to do for this is use the push feature and then flatten up the foundation. It's really easy once you get the hang of it, and then you just make a little staircase going up using the push feature and tapping the A button very gently, then go over with the smooth tool. I'd never really seen anybody do something like this before, and I doubt I'm the first one to do it like this, but it's interesting to kind of figure out something on your own. This is going to be where the den is going to go, and we're going to try to use the one-way glass, and for the life of me, every time I put down this glass, I always end up doing it the wrong way. It always takes 2 or sometimes 3 tries, and I have no idea how to control which side the one-way viewing is on. But with enough trial and error, it's easy to fix. The idea is going to be, once these animals get tired of being looked at all day by the people, they can hide down there and not think that they're getting looked at by the people, but in reality, they're giving us the best view possible of them. Who doesn't want to see a cute sleeping otter? Lastly, we're going to be adding some small little water pools up here, so in case they don't want to be deep diving all day, they can just wait around and relax upstairs. While we make the final preparations for the small-clawed otters, let's talk a little bit about them. They're critically endangered, and a pretty uncommon animal at that, especially from the States side. Despite being one of the cutest animals on the planet in my opinion, all otters are actually ferocious carnivores. The largest otters, the Amazon giant river otters, which funny enough are coming to the game May 28th for the aquatic pack, can get up to 6 feet long and hunt in packs of up to a dozen. They've been known to bully jaguars from time to time, which are among the largest cats in the world. Just look at the size of the teeth on that thing, and look at the size of it in general. That's a full-grown black caiman. And don't forget, these things can come at you in groups of up to 12. The Asian small-clawed otter, as well as every species of otter on the planet, is a part of the mustelid family, which means they're related to things like weasels. All mustelids are typically built for more agility than power. The Amazon giant river otter is the exception. Your average mustelid's not taking on things that are much bigger than itself. You can tell this, evolution-wise, by their body. All mustelids have a slender body. They're also quite articulate with their hands. They're not on the same level as primates and obviously man, but they can crack open clams with surprising efficiency. This also means they're extremely intelligent, and are among few animal species that have actually been shown to use tools. Sea otters have been known to use rocks and other hard objects to crack open clams by themselves. Asian small-clawed otters, which are what's going in this exhibit, have a lifespan of up to 11 to 16 years on average. Their diet consists of very small animals like crabs, snails, fish, frogs, insects, eggs, small rodents, and even some other small aquatic mammals. These things are full-fledged carnivores, despite looking really cute. Not a lot of people know this. Just like their cousins in the Amazon, Asian small-clawed otters also have to contest with a reptile. But this isn't just a caiman, this is a saltwater crocodile, among the largest species of predator in the world. In a life or death situation, a small-clawed otter has absolutely zero chance, it doesn't matter how big their group is, of taking down an adult crocodile. Even a juvenile would be a challenge for them. That's why they travel in extremely large groups compared to other otters. These things can come at you in groups of up to 40. They're easily the most social otter, and among the most social mustelids in general. It's probably about time we actually get the otters in the exhibit so we know what we're dealing with. They might be able to be escape artists, who knows? We'll just go over to our animal storage, select all 5 of the otters, and then send them to their exhibit. Hopefully they'll enjoy it. It's pretty spacious for 5 little otters. Since this zoo is in South America, and I really want to experience the animals that are coming May 28th, potentially we might replace them with the giant river otters once the DLC comes out, but I'm not quite sure yet. Maybe we'll get attached to these little guys. We can always put the other otters inside of our exhibit in North America. Now we just wait for the people to show up, and it looks like here they are. We'll slow time down again just to make sure the otters don't immediately dart for the path and bite someone, which hopefully they won't do. Go towards the water, please. Okay, we just need to check their wellness. They're doing okay so far. Obviously they don't have the most stuff in here, but they're not doing horrible, which is good. In traversable area. Okay, good. They can get in and out of the water. That's all we needed to know. But it looks like they can't get in and out of their den yet, so we're gonna have to change that. That should be a really easy fix, though. We're gonna need to find a creative way to keep them in, though, because we don't want to have just a regular fence going across this exhibit. These otters can climb, so we can't do that. We might have to use some pretty tall tropical rocks, just like we did on the inside of the rainforest. That'll make it really easy to decorate the place, and it'll make our cliffside, which we have right there, a little bit more detailed up, and it won't just look like a bunch of dirt. The first thing that we're going to have to do, though, is fix this den, because they don't have a lick of hard shelter without it, and that's a problem in case it starts raining. All we're going to do is take the push tool in the terrain editor, and just make it a little bit more defined. We did a good job earlier, but we could only get them about halfway down. All we have to do is just fix the little mistake. It shouldn't take long at all. Maybe we can give them a little bit more space on the inside and lower the roof a little bit to make it a little bit more cozy for them. But typically in this game, wherever there's long grass, animals can walk. Let's test it and see if we did it right this time. Traversable area, click your animal, wait for it to update. Maybe we have to start time over and make it stop again. Sometimes you have to refresh it. Let's try that again, take 2. Yep, and it looks like they can get in now, and surprisingly they can't get out quite yet. That's good. They can get out in a few other places though. I can't quite pinpoint where. Yeah, that's gonna be I wouldn't say a challenge, there's not too many places. But what's not a challenge is getting enrichment in their exhibit. Let's get that done. Like we said in the education segment, otters are extremely intelligent animals. That means they're going to need a lot of enrichment in here, and we're starting off with 5 of them. This is more than any other animal we've started off with in the zoo. Usually it's just 2 and they breed, but these things are going to need a lot of entertainment right off the bat. Okay, it took a little bit of time, but I finally found a design that I like. I made it completely from scratch, just out of things from the construction menu. All it is just a simple glass pane with some wood trims. Just gotta make sure you get every little piece of it before you duplicate it. Come on. There you go. Have to go inside of it. Okay, now we can duplicate it. I made it pretty much perfectly the size of the gate that we have, and I made it glass so that the guests can have a good view of the otters when they walk past. Another reason I really like using glass when I make builds like this, not only is the visibility, but you can also put plants and different vines on it, and it gives it a cool effect. We're gonna do this a lot more when we get to the underwater section, but it's kind of like we did in the rainforest exhibit. And as you can see, we still have a lot of room to make improvements on this exhibit. They can escape from pretty much anywhere so far. Yeah, this is gonna take some time. Building exhibits for semi-aquatic mammals is just so much fun in this game because you can almost do 2 exhibits in one. We have the forested area, which these otters are gonna like so they can get some privacy, but then we can also make the underwater area as lush as we want. It's really cool to be able to have 2 different sort of environments inside the same exhibit. I'm really excited for the aquatic pack, May 28th. That's probably my favorite DLC out of all of them, although I will admit the animal I'm most excited for is the polar bear coming in the Arctic pack. But even then, that's a semi-aquatic mammal. We should probably talk about the future plans for this channel and this franchise in general. As of right now, I obviously have no intentions of stopping this series. I really enjoy it, and the support I've been getting from you guys is amazing. Matter of fact, this video is probably going to be the one that hits 500 subscribers for the channel. That being said, I want to make a new zoo in this franchise every time we get a new DLC drop, and I'm going to model that new zoo in the franchise off of the DLC, but we're probably not going to start that until the next one. For example, say the Arctic pack comes out tomorrow. We would make a new zoo in the series, maybe based on an Arctic research base, but primarily focused on the Arctic animals that come out. I don't know what's in the pack off the top of my head besides the polar bear, but maybe we'd include the Arctic fox, I think the reindeer's in there, animals like that. If the Twilight Trail pack came out tomorrow, we would include animals like the raccoon, the wombat, and whatever's in that pack. I'm not quite sure what's in all the packs, and I'm trying not to spoil myself despite the information having been out for years at this point. It's kind of cool to not really know. While recording this, we have about 3 weeks, slightly less, to finish this zoo before the aquatic pack comes out, and the Twilight Trail pack. That means I want this zoo to be completely done before May 28th so we can start a new zoo in the franchise. That doesn't mean we'll never visit this zoo again and we'll never come back here. In fact, depending on how big this zoo gets, maybe we'll ship some animals from this one over to our next one. That's what's so cool about franchise mode. They're all the same zoo, technically. You just can't go to the same one in the same world. But you have access to all of them. When designing this exhibit, I mainly wanted to give the otters plenty of places to hide and have as many different plants as we possibly could in this exhibit. One thing I didn't like how the rainforest turned out is since all 4 of the exhibit animals that we have in there are from the exact same place, we couldn't really get a lot of plant diversity in there. I'm going to try to change that with this, since these otters are technically from Asia, but they're from the more tropical areas of Asia, like Vietnam and Cambodia and the Philippines. So they like the Asian plants, but also the same ones we've been using. So we can keep this exhibit matching, but also add different varieties in plants and different wildlife. What I'm trying to do before we finish that project is just make these little interior sections a little bit more refined. We're going to be adding giant rocks and boulders here to give a little bit of a retaining wall effect so the dirt can't just fall on the guest. The rocks will stop that from happening, and also make the entire thing just look that much more sturdy. This will also allow us to put rocks on top of these so the otters can't escape, and we don't have to have the exact same glass barrier running around the entire exhibit. We want to have a more natural barrier to keep them in places we don't want them escaping from. Alright, this thing is looking really good so far. The problem is they can escape from pretty much everywhere in the exhibit still, so we're gonna have to fix that. Okay, 30 minutes of placing rocks later, and that should have finally done it. I don't think they can escape anymore. Pretty much all we did was add a little smooth trim around the entire perimeter of the exhibit. Let's see if they can escape. And it looks like they can. But how? Unless they can jump up somehow, but there's no blue connecting this. There they are over there. Can they escape from over here? Because if those rocks over there were too tall... Wait a minute, there's only 3 of them in here, too. Did the other 2 get stuck? Yeah, why are you 2 still in here? These guys should have been sent to the exhibit a while ago. I wonder what happened. Hopefully they get there in time. Alright, now where are... That would have been the cutest thing. Animal escaped? How did you get up there? Okay, so they must be able to jump. Wait a minute. Are we gonna catch him in the act? Come on. This is just bizarre. I wonder how he got up there. They have to just be jumping. Hopefully he doesn't jump down there. That could seriously hurt him. But I don't think he'll be able to. These little guys are really tricky to handle. We've got to figure out what's causing them to do this, otherwise this is going to be a problem. Maybe it's... Oh, I think I see it, right there. Yeah, it looks like they can jump up. Yep, caught him in the act. Nice try. Now we know exactly what to fix. See if we can't get him down first, though. We'll just do an emergency capture. We can afford it. We almost have 200,000. All we have to do is get some rocks, multiple overflowing bins. Probably get some trash cans down there too. We'll just use Tropical Rock 3, all reliable. Make sure random rotation's on, and build up this wall a little bit. Maybe we'll make this entire thing a little bit taller. That shouldn't be very hard. Heck, maybe that might even look better. As long as these otters get down, because we don't want to crush them with 5 tons of rocks. And he got down. Alright, let's fix this thing. I'm not sure if I ever explained this, but you can actually change the color of the water in this game just by clicking any body of water. You have lots of different options. I'm not a big fan of how the Amazon looks. The Everglades is okay. I wanted this kind of to look a little bit more like a swamp, but I don't know. Not married to it. Let's try tropical. Yep, that's it. Sometimes you just see it and know, and I think this is the exact one we're looking for. Remember, we want to have a little show with some seats behind this, and I think the tropical is going to give the best possible view. Look how cute these little guys are. Their swimming animation's adorable. This exhibit's turning out really nice. Let's take a little break while working on the inside of the exhibit and now fix the outside of it because there's some glaring issues and I'm looking right at them. There's a ton of trash around this exhibit because we've yet to put in some cans and recycling bins. That's gonna change. Let's just get one of each of these. I don't know if there's an actual difference between these 2 trash cans, but I think it just looks better to have both of them next to each other because in real zoos, when do you ever see just one trash can? There's always a recycling bin next to it. Let's just put them on every odd corner. Maybe a place that has a long stretch with no other one. This path will be continued eventually. It's not just going to be a dead end that leads to nothing. Just don't let me forget about it. And then we'll add some benches so the guests can rest, because this is pretty far from the entrance. I think this would be a great spot for a bench. They can look at it right when they're in the den. This is going to be where the bleachers are going to go, so we're not going to put anything there, and we're probably going to have to get rid of that little thing we made before, the enclosure fence. I'll make that a blueprint really quick, though. So these bleachers are a pretty complicated tool in this game, and I'll try my best to explain exactly how they work. So pretty much you line them up right next to a path like this. They auto-snap just like the benches do and just like the trash cans did. And you can put them as close as you want to each other. After you get them set up exactly where you want, find this animal talk point in the construction menu. Facilities menu, not construction. It's under facilities. It's one of the first things that you'll find too, since it's all alphabetical. Place it wherever you like, go over to it, and then at this point, it's just like one of the education boards that we've been placing across the whole zoo. You can also link the seats to it, so now any guest that sits there will hear this exact speech of the whatever animal you choose. In this case, it's the Asian small-clawed otter. They're a little bit more complicated than the education boards because there's a couple more things you have to set up, and you have to hire an educator to actually work it, but they're really worth it in the end. It's a really cool feature, and it boosts your education like crazy. You can also set custom music to play when the guests aren't actually using it and there's no educator. Let's pick a aquatic sounding one. North American Everglades looks nice. We should probably throw on the last remaining details for this episode, and we're going to start off by adding some vines and some rope around this log so that it's a little bit of a more interesting view when you're watching the show. I also want to get a little bit more grass around the top of this section too. Maybe some different colors and different variety. The otters will want lots of places to hide that'll stop them from getting stressed. If you don't want to see the time lapse, feel free to skip to the time on screen. While the rainforest is certainly bigger in scale, this might be my favorite exhibit that I've ever done, and we haven't even really detailed the outside of it yet, but look how good this thing looks. I'd want to go to that show. I don't know about you guys. Right behind this thing, I'm thinking we have enough room for another really small exhibit, probably either caimans, capybaras, or tapirs. Maybe an animal that fits with the theme of South America, but I'm not quite sure what we'll put in that blank space yet. It'll definitely be a big exhibit though. With that being said, I think that's going to do it for today's episode of Franchise Mode. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Somebody's going to be the 500th subscriber. Heck, maybe somebody already is by the time this video's out. I guess I'll catch you in the next one though. These protesters are going to have to wait. Kingpin out. See you then.